Monster Synthesis Master. Chapter 161 The Player's Class Choice. Old Crane was certain that it was the painter John's doing. Just 2 days ago, Painter John had sent something to Link's help. Now that Link had suddenly come to White Crane Hall of his own accord to pay the monthly tribute, he must have had some confidence. Besides the painter, Old Crane couldn't think of anyone else who could deal the fatal blow to the 35 thugs before they could even react, and was also related to Link. And it was very likely that the painter's frightening pencil had caused the head of the thug of White Crane Hall to be pierced and wounded. Although the painter was strong, he still had enemies. Moreover, 5 years had passed, and the Sand City was no longer the Sand City of the past. Times have changed. It's no longer the time for you to do whatever you want, John. On the other hand, the bandits drove back to the Link gang. When the car stopped outside the alley, Fred, who was waiting anxiously at the entrance, shouted to the yard immediately, "I'm back. The boss and the others are back." Upon hearing the news, the restless members in the courtyard got up one after another and ran toward the alley entrance under Third Brother's lead. "What are you all squeezing for? Are you all rushing to the Yellow Springs Road to drink that bowl of mangpo soup?" The macaw jumped up and glanced at Link, who was unscathed. It heaved a sigh of relief and returned to the house. "Tisk, what's there to see if I can see a living person every day, Ying Luo?" No 3's eyes were filled with tears. He almost burst into tears when he saw Link. "Boss, it's good that you're back safely, it's good that you're back." Link had just killed the hatchet man of White Crane Hall and gained a lot of experience, so he was in a good mood. After this battle, White Crane Hall's vitality had been greatly damaged, and they should not be able to cause any more trouble in the short term. Then, when White Crane Hall retracted his tail and licked his wounds to recover his vitality, he would use a set of combination punches and directly take away half of his life. Link smiled as he walked towards the bird's nest. The sand eagle and the white saber sea eagle obediently laid on the ground to incubate the eggs. The sand sculpture seemed to have recovered quite a bit and was enjoying it. After all, other than not being able to move, there was no harm in hatching the eggs. And other than moving, there was no benefit at all. These 2 days of hatching had also given it a chance to struggle on its last breath. "It should be able to hatch today, right?" asked Link. The sand eagle didn't know anything about this. The white blade sea eagle was also a first mother eagle. It was saying something, but Link didn't understand. "Little White is saying that the 3 eggs will be fully hatched by this afternoon." The macaw's voice came from behind. Link raised an eyebrow and called for Fu. "Fu, go buy today's newspaper." He read the newspaper to kill time and welcome the love child of the idiot and Ziobai. Link returned to his office. While waiting for the newspaper, he checked the forum. As the players entered the game for a few days, they had a certain level of understanding of destiny. For example, the closed beta players had already been inspired by the leveling up and HP recovery method and developed this small technique. There were also many players who had come into contact with class trainers in the past 2 days and had chosen their own classes. Everyone's state of mind was strange, and the entire forum was filled with a happy atmosphere. Players who had become pugilists were now walking around with glowing faces. What did it feel like to have 2 more attribute points than others? He felt as if he owned the entire world. As for the players who chose the mechanic class, regardless of whether they were engineers or gunners, they would need to spend a lot of money in the early stages. The parts required for assembly by the mechanic class were not directly sold on the market. They could only be obtained by disassembling firearms, equipment, and these things either required money or had to be buried in the garbage dump to pick up junk equipment. Originally, the errand missions in the early stages were already lacking in experience and money. Now, not only could they not provide any help after choosing a class, but they also had to throw money in. The most important thing was that once the class was chosen, it could not be changed, and they could only wait until level 20 to unlock a subclass. In the eyes of the mechanic players, this class was simply a bottomless pit. No matter how much they earned, they would have to fill it up. Lin Ke chuckled as he read through them. These guys were complaining about being poor now, but when they reached level 10 and made their first green-grade weapon or armor with the spare parts they had saved up, they would not be like this. They would be like crabs that could do whatever they wanted. There was nothing to say about the Esper and the Mystic. The activation conditions would be slightly more complicated than the other two classes, as it required attribute points. Moreover, the mainstream environment on Wasteland Planet was pugilist and mechanic, and it was not easy to find professional trainers for the other two classes. For the closed beta players who entered the game for the first time, although they were veterans, they were still newbies in Destiny, so they were still clueless about many things. The most common Esper abilities were all kinds of elemental abilities, which all had high damage in the early stages but were slow to cast. The Mystic class was a little more complicated. Whether it was the Blood Clan, Werewolf, Druid, or Spiritualist, their skills were all more mysterious, giving people a sense of the medieval era that was difficult to guard against. Other than that, there was nothing new on the forum. The closed beta players were all experienced players. They would not mention special quests or plots on the forum unless they had a request to borrow the strength of others to crack it. Other than that, there was nothing else to see. After that, Lin Ke opened the Platinum Hotel app. He wanted to see the faces of the junior assassins and bounty hunters who had bet that he would die in 30 days as a form of daily entertainment. However, as soon as he opened the software, a pop-up message appeared. Shocked. The three scammed more than 16 million in cash from the French government. The scamming trio has now joined the latest diamond grade reward package. Link's eyes widened. He clicked on it and was dumbfounded. The three scammers had scammed 16 million yuan from the government of Fei for the construction funds by stealing and engraving fake seals. After that, they had exchanged all of it into cash and left, leaving the officials of Fei dumbfounded. It's simply a heavenly show. He could actually cheat so much money by stealing and engraving fake seals. He even made them exchange it all for cash. The reason why Link sighed was because of the fact that the official Far Night City had the strictest regulations and the most complete system out of the three special cities of the Freedom Federation. It was simply inconceivable that such a low-level mistake could be committed. It was as absurd as someone walking into a military zone that claimed to have the tightest defense and even taking a missile from the arsenal. Looking at the bounty, the French government promised that as long as they helped them find the three people, they would get a bounty of 3 million wasteland coins. Link saw the information on the three of them in the column. The most eye-catching part was that these three weren't supers, but rather ordinary people of the Freedom Federation. They were an administrative secretary, a down-and-out craftsman who was good at carving and forging, and a security guard from the French nightclub's official department. Chapter 162 Second Generation Pet. It's indeed the Happiness Fountain app. I've really gotten a big surprise. However, Link was just happy to see the message. The 3 million bounty was indeed very attractive, but did he really have to cross thousands of kilometers to look for clues in Far Night? This is the first time that three ordinary people without any combat power have made it to the Platinum Hotel's diamond grade bounty. To a certain extent, I can be considered to have witnessed history. According to Link's expectations, the assassins and bounty hunters from the Platinum Hotel in Shadow would definitely move towards Dragon City and Magic Night on a large scale. After all, diamond bounties could only be accepted by high-level assassins. In addition, the targets of diamond bounties were either very powerful or very powerful. Usually, these assassins and bounty hunters were not qualified to come into contact with them at all. The authority of this special diamond bounty had been delegated to all assassins and bounty hunters, and the targets were only three ordinary people with average combat power. Even if it was only a 1 in 10,000 chance, it was worth a shot. If they were lucky enough to run into one, that would be a 3 million bounty. If the killers and bounty hunters of the Platinum Hotel in Shadow leave, the number of people who will accept my 200,000 gold bounty should be reduced. Then wouldn't the hitman and bounty hunter who bet that I would die in 30 days be even more devastated? As he spoke, he clicked into the betting page and saw that there were more comments under the bets about him. There were all kinds of wails and humblings, which made Lin Ke very happy. These people were so happy to join in the fun at that time, but now they were crying so badly. After that, Fu came back with the fresh newspapers. He stood in front of the desk and asked, "Boss, is there anything you'd like to eat for lunch? Let's celebrate a little." "Celebrate what? White Crane Hall's vitality is greatly damaged, or is it to celebrate the Sand Eagle and Little White's 3 little fellows successfully breaking out of their shells?" Link thought for a moment and said, "I think it's possible. The Sand Eagle has always prided himself on being above the masses. This time, he has given birth to 3 children, which is both meritorious and hard work. He should be rewarded and celebrated. The Sand Eagle likes to eat Western food. This time, giving birth and hatching consumed a lot of physical strength. Let's have foie gras for lunch. I think chili sauce is good for the ingredients." Fu's eyes lit up. "Foie gras with sauce, the more you eat, the better. Boss's taste is really good, I'll go and prepare now." Fu closed the door and left the office. Link smiled helplessly. He had only thought of the chili sauce on the spot. Fu was really good at cooking. He was indeed the man who escaped from the Wasteland gang with a knife. Link then focused his attention on the newspaper. The first page of the Wasteland Star Morning Post today was also a detailed summary of the Fey government's fraud. In the corner of the first page, the officials of Shandu and Dragon City also expressed their regret over the huge loss of property that Fey had suffered. To put it in another way, it was to strongly restore one's dignity. Even Shandu Entertainment News and Streets and Alleys also reported on the incident, but these 2 entertainment-based newspapers had completely different perspectives. The newspapers published a special article on the possible escape routes of the 3 suspects, and various editors published their own guesses on the psychology and escape routes of the suspects. In the advertisements in the newspaper, many advertisers also made fun of the official team of French nightclub, and they were all about funny relay bodies. A serious case of an official being scammed had become a reason for the people to celebrate. Link couldn't help but smile and shake his head after reading the newspaper. Although this matter was bizarre and absurd, it could be seen that Chita's officials were behind it. They were trying to use this incident to strike at the authority of the Farnight officials and shift the panic caused by the Inhumans' arrival. This was because the government was completely playing dead when it came to the Inhumans. There were more and more Inhumans incidents. Before the officials had completely figured out the problem and discussed the countermeasures, they could only act cute and play dumb. Now, there was a fraud case of the French Knight officials offering an astronomical price of 16 million. Shandu and Dragon City began to use this matter to guide the public's opinion and divert everyone's attention. After returning, third brother pulled Zui Feng and Dao Yangren to ask about what happened. When they learned that Link had dodged the ambush of dozens of people from White Crane Hall without moving in the carriage, they were all shocked. The boss's strength was unfathomable, and the background behind him was also completely unfathomable. After this battle, it had once again left a deep mark on boss's legendary experience. At noon, Fu personally cooked fried foie gras with chili sauce for more than 20 people. With a shaking glass of red wine, everyone celebrated the safe return of their boss. They also wished that the Sand Eagle and Little White could give birth to 3 healthy and lovely eagle babies. You can talk about the White Crane Hall within the sect, but don't show it off to the outside world. White Crane Hall had suffered heavy losses in this battle, and they had lost a lot of their internal fighting power. They would take advantage of this time to secretly recruit soldiers and buy horses to recuperate. If the news is leaked, the Secret Alliance and Freemasonry will definitely take action, and it will be a bloody battle. Isn't it good for White Crane Hall to fight with the Hidden Alliance and the Freemasonry? Mr. Kong was very confused. They won't have the time to pay attention to us, and we can seize the opportunity to develop ourselves. Link smiled and nodded. This is not in line with my plan. Since it's a conflict between White Crane Hall and US, it's best for us to resolve it within the gang. After all, it's a big deal. My goal is to replace him. Link didn't finish his sentence. Some things would not work if they were said in advance. Although their boss kept them in suspense, everyone was now a die-hard fan and would not go back on their boss's words. Since the boss had told them to block the news, they would not say a word to the outside world. After eating the foie gras and red wine, the Sand Eagle really worked harder. In the afternoon, the Sand Eagle and Whitey's eggs all cracked open. Link saw the three little fellows immediately. She squinted her small eyes and squeaked non-stop, her body trembling slightly. Link took a look at the three kids' abilities. One inherited the Sand Eagle's sandstorm, while the other inherited Little White's flying feathers. The last one was a fusion of the abilities of the Sand Eagle and Xiaobai, which evolved into the Poisonous Sand skill. Poisonous Sand Level 1, can control sand and dust to form a sandstorm with a diameter of 5 meters. In the sandstorm, it will release an airborne paralyzing poison. The effective time depends on the target's natural resistance, lasts for 15 seconds, can only be used once a day. This new fusion skill was even more powerful than the previous one. While using the sandstorm to create a smokescreen, it could also cause the opponent to be affected by a paralyzing poison. It was simply a heaven-defying skill. The three little eagles were all green grade, which showed that the genes of the white-headed sea eagle were more overwhelming. There was also a small interlude in the process. Because it was a species born from the union of two pets, 3 naming windows appeared on Link's interface. He could name the 3 little eagles. This was the time for Link to show off his literary talent. Link named the one that inherited the Sand Eagle's ability Xiao Xiaosha and the one that inherited the white-bladed Sea Eagle's ability Xiao Xiaobai. As for the one that had fused with the new ability, it was named Little Poison. It was simple and crude. It was easy to remember. Now that they had a second-generation pet, the Link gang did not need so many combat pets with similar abilities for the time being. Link thought of the self-destructing flies. After his self-destructing flies reproduced with the flies from Wasteland Planet, the next generation would also obey Link's orders due to the superiority of the Insectinest's genes. In that case, why not spread these second-generation pets and breed them outside? With the super-fast breeding cycle of genetically synthesized pets, didn't that mean that he would be able to control an army of creatures in a few years? Link suddenly had an idea. He stared at Xiao Xiaosha and smiled. "Child, you're in luck." Chapter 163. The curtains were pulled open, and the actors appeared. "Idiot, Little White, I need to discuss something with you too." The Sand Sculpture and Whitey both looked at Link, not knowing what their master was going to say. "I'm going to send Xiao Xiaosha out and let him see the world. Of course, after it can fly, it can come back to see you at any time. It's in Shandu." The Sand Sculpture and Little White looked at each other and nodded. Little White was especially ruthless. After all, to this young couple, the world of two birds was the most important. Children and other things were just the unexpected product of passion. "Gaga, Gaga, Ga," Little White said seriously. Link didn't understand and turned to ask the macaw. Lao Jin's entire body shivered after hearing this. He looked at the yellow and skinny Sand Sculpture with sympathy and said, "What Little White means is that boss can do whatever he wants with these children, as long as we leave enough space for the two of them." Link was shocked as well. What an irresponsible pair of parents. They only cared about their own happiness and didn't care about their child at all. However, on second thought, it seemed that wild animals were all like this. They were given a laissez-faire education. As for whether they could survive, it was up to nature to choose the strong and the weak. This time, Link was no longer under any pressure. The idiot, Whitey, had agreed as well. This was a benefit for Xiao Xiaosha. And since the idiot and Whitey wanted a world of their own, when Xiaobai was a little older, it would have to go out and explore. Link had even thought of the appropriate arrangements. As for Little Poison, he had to be nurtured well. He would definitely be a great help in the future. Now that all the arrangements were complete, the birth of the second-generation pet would add to Link's plans. Now, I'm only missing one actor who can cooperate with me. Link spent 14400 experience points to reach level 16. In the afternoon, he went to the city library to learn the second skill of the lurker, Haste. He used another 39700 experience points to level up Haste to LV10. Haste LVL10, Lurker, activate Haste secret skill, increasing speed by 100% for 15 seconds, cost, 20 stamina/time. Your Haste skill has reached level 10, activating its specialty Agility. Agility plus 10, movement speed plus 10%. Link did not touch the remaining 22,000 experience points. He kept them for leveling up. Walking out of the city library, Link heaved a long sigh of relief. As the number of skills he learned and the level of the skills increased, the number of specialties he could activate would also increase, and his attributes would also increase. After his endurance had broken through the 30-point barrier, his agility had also broken through the 30-point barrier. Now that the curtains are open, it's time for the actors to come on stage, said Lin Ke with a smile. After driving back to the gang's entrance, Link stopped the car and threw the keys to the thug in the yard. He raised his hand and said, "Is Dai Liang there?" Thief Liang Ren and Zui Feng went out to buy a birdcage. Looking at the time, Ying Luo should be back soon. Fred replied. Link took off his suit jacket as he walked. "When I'm back later, tell the thief Liang to come to the office to find me." Link returned to his office and sat on his chair. He crossed his arms and closed his eyes to think of a plan. Although he thought that his plan was flawless, he still had to consider the possible accidents. To attack one's own immediate White Crane Hall was a serious crime in the underworld. If Link wanted to make a move, he had to make sure that he wouldn't be caught. Now, he had already found this method. It was a rare opportunity, so he had to make sure that nothing went wrong. Thump thump thump. "Boss, you were looking for me." The bandit Liang man was sweating profusely as he panted heavily and knocked on the door. Just now, he and Wind Chasing Wolf went to buy bird nests and bought a lot of dry food for the gang's pets. Because there were so many types and numbers, he was so tired that he was sweating. As a result, the moment he entered, he was told that his boss wanted to see him alone. Dai Liang Ren was dumbfounded and exchanged a look with Zui Feng. Logically speaking, if there was anything, she should have asked the two of them to come together. Why did she ask him to come alone? "I think you must have activated some special task," Win said seriously. This time, the thief Liang people were even more shocked. "Ah! But we did the mission together, why did the boss only call me?" Zui Feng pushed Thief Liang Ren's shoulder. "Don't think too much, go and accept the mission first." The thief listlessly entered the office and stood in front of Link. "Boss, you were looking for me." Lin Ke sized up the boss of a multi-billionaire listed company. He could actually see the uneasiness and nervousness in the man. "This morning at White Crane Hall, you did a good job keeping your cool. Also, after joining the sect for a few days, I observed that you are quick-witted and have good ability to adapt to changes. That's why I'm giving you a difficult task this time." Dai Liang Ren suddenly reacted. It was really like what Zui Feng said, it was a hidden task. Link sent the pre-written mission to the bandit leader. After reading it, the bandit leader took a deep breath. The reward for this mission was actually a skill. "This is the specific proposal I'm sending you. Go back and read it, then you can prepare in advance." Link took out 10,000 coins and a document from his drawer and pushed it to the thief. "This is your startup capital and proposal. After you finish reading the proposal tonight, you can go and prepare in advance." The bandit looked at the stack of 100 denomination wasteland money and the documents at the side, and his breathing became a little rushed. "After this is done, the rest of the money will be your reward for this mission. I only ask for one thing. There must be no mistakes. The thief Liang Ren nodded repeatedly and accepted the money and documents. "Oh right, let all the members see this proposal. Tell them not to make a fuss and expose themselves." The thief Liang Ren walked out while reading the documents, his mind full of doubts. Although the reward for this E-rank mission was very generous, he still couldn't understand this mission. When Dao Yang just came out, the wind-chasing PRO excitedly went forward to welcome him. "What did boss call you for?" "It's indeed a hidden mission, but you guys need to cooperate. Boss said that everyone needs to study this document together, so don't expose yourself." Not far away, third brother heard this and came over with a frown. He took a look at the proposal. Boss wants to put on a show in this place." However, when third brother saw the end, his previous doubts were dispelled. "That's not right. If it's a fake act, why did they apply for an arbitration from the Moon Shadow Council? This isn't right, Ying Luo. If someone sees through your act in the Colosseum, the boss and Link's gang will be in danger." Third brother's face turned pale and his lips trembled. "It's over, it's really over this time." She then staggered towards Link's office. He wanted to admonish to the death. 10 minutes later, third brother came out of the office and called out loudly, "Come, come, come. Everyone, put down your work and come over to study the documents together." 164 Chapter 164, All members are villains. Boss said that it was because of my good performance in the morning at White Crane Hall, and that I knew how to adapt to the situation, that he gave me this task. The bandit told Wind what Link had said, including his mission and reward. Zui Feng touched his chin and thought for a while before clapping his hands. "I understand. Because in the kill our way out of the encirclement mission, you were given more experience than me, so the mainframe decided that your performance was better than mine and chose you to carry out this mission. I just read the proposal. I have to say that it's more suitable for you to do this task. If it were me, I would probably be exposed." Wind-chasing wolf thought of the several key elements of a script, which had a lot of traces of acting. For a dead-headed like him, if he suddenly wanted to act, it would probably ruin things. "I have to say, you've earned a lot this time. Boss gave you 10,000 to buy the beast, and you'll have a few thousand wasteland coins left. Also, you'll be rewarded with a stalker skill after the mission is completed, and it'll be upgraded to level 2. You've earned big this time." Wind continued, "I just checked, it takes 500 experience points to upgrade the skill from LV1 to LV2. Now, after completing the mission, he would be rewarded with a level 2 haste, which was equivalent to 500 experience points, and this skill, when combined with your rogue's throwing knife and gun, can even kite the enemy." Bandit Liang's eyes lit up. As expected of the Miracle Guild's leader. Just by looking at the skill introduction, he had already thought of the stealth style. At night, the bandits left the Link gang under the cover of the night. The White Saber Sea Eagle also left with the bandit Liang. The White Crane Hall's spies outside Link's house immediately followed after discovering the bandits' strange behavior. "Boss, I found someone sneaking out from Link's gang at night. Follow him closely and see where he's going." Sun Shu, the second tycoon on the other end of the phone, said. 10 minutes later, the spy from White Crane Hall made another call. "Boss, Link's men have gone to the underground black market. Wait at the exit of the underground black market's alley and see what this person is up to," Sun Shu said after a moment of silence. 4 hours later, the eyeliner of White Crane Hall felt that his eyelids were heavy, and his 2 eyelids were fighting. "Boss, Link's men aren't out yet. It's already midnight." Sun Shu frowned. He didn't understand what Link was up to, but he still said, "Hold on, I'll immediately arrange for people to rotate with you." At this time, whether it was the spies of White Crane Hall or Sun Shu, they did not know that the thief Liang Ren had already gone offline to sleep. Their watch was bound to be in vain. In the next 2 days, the people from Link's gang did not step out of the door. They all stayed in the gang and did not even go to the gym or the shooting range. From the outside of the alley, the gang members could be seen in the courtyard. Sun Shu looked at the information that his subordinate had passed to him on the table and fell into a state of confusion. Damn it, what is Link trying to do? Sun Shu clenched his fists, the veins on his forehead popping. He had a feeling that Link was up to something big, but he couldn't tell from the information he had. Ever since 35 people had died at the entrance of White Crane Hall, Old Crane had given all of the Link gang's authority to second guardian Sun Shu. The other tycoons who were hot-tempered and impetuous had all been confined by Old Crane, and were only allowed to stay in White Crane Hall. He only arranged for 1 or 2 more stable tycoons to secretly carry out the recruitment work. Although Sun Shu had never interacted with Link directly, he could tell from the way he conducted himself and his actions that he was the kind of person who would amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. This time, they had killed more than 30 people from White Crane Hall. Logically speaking, as a subordinate sect of White Crane Hall, they should have some understanding of the distribution of members and the scale of White Crane Hall. With a little calculation, it was easy to figure out that White Crane Hall was currently short of manpower and their defense was weak. The White Crane Hall had kept the news a secret, but as long as Link accidentally revealed it, the Hidden Alliance and Freemasonry would definitely try to get a share of the benefits. However, for 2 whole days, the people of White Crane Hall were on tenterhooks and did not hear any rumors from the outside. There's definitely a problem. With Link's personality, how could he let go of such a great opportunity? If we don't hit them while they're down, the first thing White Crane Hall will do when they recover is to cause trouble for Link's gang. According to the information from the hidden sentries, other than one person who sneaked out to the black market the night before, the rest of the gang had been hiding in the gang. This was strange in itself. Even the gym and shooting club that they had to go to every day were no longer visited. But what's the problem? What does he want? Sun Shu looked at the information on the table and gritted his teeth. All this information seemed to have turned into mocking faces in his eyes, mocking him for not being able to find the truth and see through Link's actions. In Link's gang. Today, everyone was overjoyed, and their faces were filled with smiles as if they were celebrating the new year. Today was the day that Link would help with the team building. Everyone had already prepared the money and were just waiting for their boss Link's order. Hehe, today I'll follow boss to the animal arena. I'll definitely go in standing and come out lying down. Listen, are you even human? If you say that boss is taking us to the Colosseum, those who don't know will think that boss is taking us to a brothel. I'm talking about how tired I am from carrying the money. Why is your head full of dirty things? Everyone finished packing up and waited for boss in the rest area. Link was in his office, giving out his final instructions. Old Jin, do you remember what I just said? After we leave, you guys stay at home and follow the plan. The macaw had an impatient look on its face, just like the child's expression when its parents were talking about the same old things. I've already memorized those few words. Aren't you tired of repeating them over and over again? Why are you acting like an old mother? You keep repeating it. Why do you look more like a parrot than I do? Link was speechless. This guy was really asking for a beating. His raised fist slowly turned into a palm that landed on his head. Then, Link walked to a side table and said to the wolf, "After we leave, you have to take good care of the house." The macaw laughed out loud. Have you been struck dumb by me? You're actually talking to a skeleton. It's over, my master has been angered silly by me, ying ying. After a few seconds, the skeleton wolf reacted and nodded. The macaw, who was laughing at the side, was so scared that it sat on the ground with its eyes wide open. Your mother's snake skin, banana stick, and hammer. So it's alive. You scared me to death. Ha 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 ha. Seeing the macaw's defeat, Link smiled and walked out of the office. He had avenged himself. Looking at the eager members of the Link gang, Link smiled. Link's team building officially begins. Link helped everyone out of the alley. Everyone had an insolent smile on their faces. All the members were villains. In an instant, Link helped the various forces' hidden sentries at the entrance to call to report the situation. Chapter 165 The Big Stage of the Animal Arena. Almost at the same time, the thief Liang person also came out from the underground black market, with a wolfhound in his hand. The 3 hidden sentries of White Crane Hall had been taking turns to guard the room outside the alley of the underground black market for 2 days, and they were in a state of confusion. The hidden sentries suddenly saw the bandit Liang people swaggering out from the underground black market. Their eyes were focused on moving, but they didn't react in time. When the thief Liang person walked out of the alley, he led the wolfhound to the side of the road to hail a taxi. The hidden sentry suddenly reacted and hurriedly shook his companion awake. "Boss, Link, who was hiding in the underground black market, is helping a thug out. He's holding a wolfhound and is now calling a taxi by the side of the road." Sun Chu's eyes lit up when he heard the news, and he instantly shot up from his seat. "Keep up with him, don't lose him." As soon as he hung up, another call connected seamlessly. It was Link's help of the hidden sentry at the gate. "Boss, the Link gang is out in full force. Everyone's out, but their destination is unknown. Boss, should we send someone to Link and cause some damage?" the hidden sentry suggested. Sun Chu immediately stopped him. "Follow them. Don't waste your time going to Link's place." The hidden sentry hesitated for a moment, but he still accepted the order. After hanging up the phone, Sun Chu looked at the information on the table, and his eyes brightened. It had begun. The Link gang had finally made their move after lying low for 2 days. They've sold all their beasts and handed over the money they've collected to White Crane Hall. Link's gang has nothing now. You're still too inexperienced to try to divert my attention like this. Sun Chu's lips curled into a smile, as if he had seen through everything. Link had brought the Hellhound and Xiao Xiaosha with him. The rest of the pets stayed with Link to help look after the house. Even if someone came to ransack his house, Link didn't panic. The fight between the Sand Eagle, Little White, and the Skeleton Wolf was not bad. Even if they couldn't win, they could escape. Lin Ke had long asked Da Fu to keep the important assets and documents of the gang into his strengthening bag. "It's my first time not working with treasure-seeking mouse. I'm not used to it," said Link as he looked at the empty pocket in the back seat. Link's convoy drove along Riverbank Avenue towards the Colosseum. Through the rear-view mirror, Link saw a few familiar vehicles following the convoy from a distance. Link smirked. The secret sentries of the various factions followed behind him. This made him feel like a leader of a powerful faction on a trip. When they arrived at the Colosseum in the Sand Capital, Fu looked at the huge tortoise-shaped Colosseum and couldn't help but ask, "Boss, isn't it Sunday today? There'll be a live broadcast of the Animal Arena on TV. Do you think we'll be on TV?" The corners of Link's lips curled up. He couldn't help but smile. Being on TV is something that can only be encountered by luck, but it's not a problem to bring you guys to earn a sum of money. When Link helped everyone park their cars in the Animal Arena's parking lot, the hidden sentries quickly reported the news to the forces behind them. Link had sent everyone out, leaving no one in the nest, just to go to the Colosseum for a team building? Anyone with a brain would know that this was obviously unreasonable. "Let's go in and see what Link is up to." "Link, ignore the nest. There's definitely a trap. Besides, the other forces haven't sent anyone in to search, so we'll just wait and see." The orders given to the hidden sentries were mostly the same. They were all asked to follow Link in the Colosseum and see what he was up to. Link led his team into the Colosseum. When he turned around, he saw many people with sneaky eyes. As long as he turned around, these people would immediately pretend to look at the things next to them. "Boss, did you forget to bring something?" Fu asked curiously. "Nothing," said Link with a smile. "I just wanted to make sure that everyone's here." When Third Brother heard his boss's meaningful words, he also turned around and glanced at them. He found a few strange-looking guys. "Boss, should we go to the casino upstairs to play for a while or go directly to the Colosseum?" The thugs were all eager to try, their eyes filled with the desire to get rich and double. "I'm not good at gambling, let's go to the Colosseum." Everyone rushed to the animal arena on the first underground floor. Link had arrived on time. By the time he reached the Colosseum, it was already 6:30 in the afternoon. Link helped the members hold juice in one hand and hot dogs in the other. More than a dozen people were holding the same dinner, and they looked particularly imposing when put together. The customers in the animal arena weren't interested in this kind of fast food, but when they saw the hot dogs, they got hungry. Link and his men's grand entrance attracted a lot of attention. The name Link was the most common name that anyone who lived in the slums of Shadu had heard this month. Many people might not know this elegant young master, but after asking around, they came to a realization. So this man was Link. Link stopped casually in front of a beast death match arena. At this time, the masters of two beasts were signing a death match contract in the judgment area. "Boss, are we going to vote for this?" Fred couldn't help asking. None of Link's thugs were willing to keep their money in their pockets. They wanted to bet as soon as possible. In Link's words, he had too much money to burn. Link glanced at the two beasts in the death arena's resting area. One of them was a rare white-furred tiger. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Its bloody mouth kept spewing out a foul smell as it roared. On the other side, there was a silent giant wolf that seemed to be frightened by the white tiger. The giant wolf was about the same size as an adult white tiger, but the aura of the two sides was completely different. One was like heaven and the other was like earth. Link observed the two beasts and frowned. He then walked to the control panel and handed his bank card to the staff. "I bet 100,000 on the giant wasteland wolf." When the thugs behind him saw that their boss had given out 100,000 at once, they all sucked in a breath of cold air, and then their faces revealed a secretly happy expression. After the boss finished buying, the people behind him rushed to the control panel to buy. Many people who had bet on White Tiger's victory could not help but hesitate. After signing the death contract, the White Tiger's master was a muscular man. His eagle-like eyes locked onto Link and he asked, "Why don't you think well of my great general Hu?" Link smiled but did not explain. "Good luck." "What's there to explain? A level 10 White Tiger fighting against a level 20 giant wasteland wolf, wouldn't his face be smashed to pieces?" Not to mention that this White Tiger had actually named himself the Tiger General. After confirming his gaze, he was a loser. On the other side, a middle-aged man with chocolate skin and wearing a remote tribe's uniform clasped his hands together and bowed slightly to thank Link. Roar! With a loud roar, the two wild beasts were released from the cage. The death arena was filled with a brutal and bloody aura, causing one's blood to boil. Chapter 166 Come Party Together. Link started yawning as soon as the battle began. With the level suppression and the disparity in strength, this match was really not worth watching. The match had just started, and the giant wild wolf that seemed to be intimidated by the White Tiger's might suddenly changed its temperament. Without any extra movements, a pair of blood-red eyes locked onto the White Tiger, and then it directly pounced. As the king of the wild beasts, the White Tiger could not tolerate other wild beasts showing off their might on its head. It also opened its two front claws and pounced. In an instant, the sound of firecrackers could be heard from the death arena. The White Tiger was pounced on the ground, and the fangs of the giant wild wolf, which glowed with a cold light, directly pierced into the White Tiger's neck. The wolf swung its head violently, causing a pool of blood to spray out, as well as the torn muscles, fur, and throat. The outcome of this battle of beasts was decided in just one exchange. The henchmen of the Link gang were all stunned by the scene. He had thought that there would be a hearty battle before the outcome was decided, but he did not expect it to end so soon. "Boss, we won. The odds are 1.8, my 10,000 is 18,000 in the blink of an eye." Everyone was still in a daze. They couldn't believe that earning money was so easy. The passers-by who had bet on White Tiger's victory were also in a daze. The White Tiger's roar shook the heavens before the match, and its momentum was also overwhelming. Why was it that in the death arena, its bones were crushed by a slap from the wild giant wolf, and its throat was bitten off? Even the wind-chasing Pro was secretly happy at the back of the crowd. The 500 yuan that he had earned from completing missions for the past 2 days had become 900 yuan. Seeing that everyone was in high spirits, Link didn't bring up the 1% draw from the beast arena. "Boss, how did you know that the wild wolves would win?" Fu asked curiously. At this time, the passers-by who bet on the White Tiger's victory, even the green-faced boorish men, stared at Link, waiting for his answer. Link crossed his arms in front of his chest and said calmly, "Actually, it's nothing. I just feel that the name Great General Hu is a little unlucky and ominous." Lin Ke did not stay for long after he finished speaking. He exchanged some money at the controller and led everyone away to continue shopping at Gai. Everyone in the Beast Death Arena was stunned. After all this time, this was the only reason? Wasn't this too far-fetched? The owner of the White Tiger, the muscular man, was also choked by this sentence until his face turned red, and he almost couldn't catch his breath. "Wait, that's not right. The White Tiger is called the Tiger General. This is only said after the bet is over. This reason doesn't make sense." Suddenly, someone in the audience reacted. But now, they couldn't even see Link's group. They were already buried in the sea of people. Link was extremely careful. He didn't jump in just because he saw something. Coming to the animal arena today for team building was a lie. It was to cover for the plan for the night. Don't attack too many times. If the staff of the animal arena finds out and invites you over, it won't be worth it. Thus, most of the time, he just led Link to help the others eat and drink, or just watched. He was in no hurry to attack. Even so, Link's appearance still attracted the attention of the Colosseum because he had brought Link with him to help more than a dozen people. The news was quickly spread to Morose's secretary, Kohler. Interesting. They had turned out in full force to come to the Colosseum for a team building, and there were more than 10 hidden sentries behind them. It's very rare for such a lively scene to appear in the Colosseum. Kohler quickly went to the VIP room in the Colosseum and told Morose the news. Morose had a cigar in his mouth and his hands were placed by the window. His eyes were like a battlefield radar, scanning the Colosseum from above. A moment later, he locked his eyes on Link and his men. Morose smiled, and the wrinkles at the corner of his eyes deepened. Not only did these wrinkles not make people feel old and weak, but they also gave people a deep and mature feeling. "Kale, why do you think this kid abandoned his nest and came to the beast fighting arena?" Morose took a sip of red wine and asked. Kohler furrowed his brows and guessed, maybe he wants to create an illusion that the Link gang's base is empty. In reality, it's filled with danger, and if you have any ill intentions, you might be devoured. I don't think it's that simple. Let's continue watching. As the slightly around the Colosseum rang out, the big screens above their heads all switched to the live broadcast. "Hello everyone, this is Shadow TV Station. Shadow TV Station, we will now be broadcasting live to you on Sunday at the Shadow Animal Arena." Lin Ke looked up at the big screen above him. The first event of the day was still a competition of speed. However, this week's competition of speed had shifted from the ground to the sky. It had become a battle between birds of prey. "Let's go and join in the fun." Link led the group to the beast's speed. This time, it was a weekly competition, so the 8 contestants were all new faces. Link used his memories from his previous life and chose a name that was slightly familiar. This time, the bet amount was only 50,000 yuan. Link's henchmen followed suit. Seeing that their boss didn't invest much this time, they only took out a portion of the money and didn't go to the top. Now that their boss was teaching them step by step, if they didn't learn obediently, they deserved to not earn any money. Since it was a battle of speed, the entire process was condensed into a few seconds on the stage that made people's blood boil. Soon, the competition ended. Just as Link had expected, the falcon who had a bit of memory won. Link helped the group earn a small sum again. The odds are double. I'm rich. Boss is really awesome. He's simply the god of fortune. Boss, the one and only god of the animal arena. Boss, are you tired? Let me fan you. Where are we going next? Link's henchmen were the perfect example of a lackey. Link looked at the happy men and shook his head helplessly. I'm afraid that no one will remember the mission tonight. Even the scouts following Link were wondering if they should place an order with Link while following him. In the 2 rounds just now, buying it would double the price, and it was a huge profit. The hidden sentries of the other forces were only slightly stronger than ordinary members. However, compared to the meager salary and reward, it was obvious that the multiplied gamble in front of them was more likely to stimulate people's emotions. That's right, I bought it with Link because I wanted to infiltrate them. This way, it'll be easier to monitor them. Yes, that's it. Half an hour later. Yay, it hit, it hit. The gang members, passers-by, and sentries behind Link waved the tickets in their hands. The strangers who did not know each other even hugged and cheered together. At this moment, there was no distinction between the people who followed Link's orders. Everyone's face was filled with the most brilliant smile. At first, it was only a small handful. Now, even the live broadcast in Chengdu, while waiting for the start of the game, had turned the camera to this happy place. Ying Ying's goal tonight is to pay off all the chapters she owes. Chapter 167 The Focus, a television interview. Teacher Han, it seems to be very happy over there. It's rare to see such a group of people celebrating in the Colosseum. Director Zhang said. Teacher Han pushed up her signature frameless glasses and tried her best to open her eyes. Looking at the real-time image transmitted by the camera, she said, "This young man, isn't he the rising star from the slums, Link? Oh, it's the one who has a quarrel with the king of assassins." Director Zhang was halfway through his sentence when he suddenly remembered that this name should not appear in this occasion. Link has been one of the most popular young men in the slums recently. I didn't expect him to bring his men to the Colosseum to relax. Just as Teacher Han and Director Zhang were explaining, a staff member at the side bent over and handed a set of information to the host. Teacher Han's eyes lit up when she saw the contents of the paper. We've obtained a very interesting set of data. I think it's necessary to share it with everyone. Director Zhang also leaned over and saw the information on the paper. He suddenly realized and said, "I think I know why so many people were celebrating just now. Mr. Lin came to the Colosseum today and bet a total of 5, all 5 of which he won. The lowest multiplier is 1.3, and the highest is 2.4. The 2 hosts' microphones were connected directly to the signal of Chengdu TV station and the signal of the Colosseum. As soon as these words came out, almost the entire Colosseum was filled with exclamations. He won all 5 rounds, and the odds were not low. Could this man be a god? The director was also very good. When Director Zhang and Teacher Han reported the news, the camera also moved to Lin Ke. Lin Ke saw his own face appear on the big screen above his head. Ah Fu and the thugs beside him were dumbfounded. They looked at their boss in front of them, then looked up at the big screen. After confirming that they were on TV, their faces were filled with excitement. Thus, Link's handsome and cold face overlapped with the excited and ordinary faces of the thugs on the same screen, instantly setting off Link's image. Even Teacher Han couldn't help but exclaim after the broadcast, "It seems that there will be many young ladies in Chengdu who won't be able to sleep tonight." Director Zhang, who was at the side, said jokingly, "Wake up. Our show doesn't have female users. It's Lin Ke who's in danger." This sentence had a deep meaning. It was a double-edged sword. On one hand, he was praising Link for being so handsome that he had attracted the jealousy of other men. On the other hand, it was also a hint that Link's consecutive wins were too popular now and would be easy to target. Interesting, Ying Luo. Lin Ke looked at the two hosts on the higher level of the Colosseum. Their words were indeed interesting. They had never met before, but she was casually reminding him in such an occasion. If I'm not wrong, this should be an order from the higher UPS of the Animal Arena. Indeed, he's already won 5 times in a row and is even on TV now. He needs to be more restrained in the future. Link clapped his hands, signaling for his gang to gather. Since everyone has earned money, we can now relax and take a break. However, I must remind you that no matter who wins or loses, you are only allowed to take out 50% of the profits. Whoever dares to cross the line will no longer be on my side. Link's words made many people who wanted to take advantage of Link's direction look disappointed. Many people even scoffed at Link's saint order. He even had a requirement on how much his subordinates spent. He was really controlling. However, Link's men all nodded, indicating that they would not spend a single cent more. If they crossed the line, they would be punished according to the family law. After that, everyone split up and played on their own. Only Afu, third brother, and wind-chasing Pro were by Link's side as his left and right arms and tools. After that, Link played a few more small games and even lost 2 on purpose. When he stopped, the customers around him looked at him weirdly as if they had some deep hatred for him. Sigh, it's really a case of kindness but enmity. When I was carrying them, they were all ungrateful. Now that I've lost, it's like I've killed my entire family. Lin Ke shook his head helplessly. It seemed like he could not continue betting on the Beast Arena. If he continued to play, he was afraid that these guests would tear him to pieces before the people behind the Colosseum showed up. Lin Ke looked at the balance of 1.3 million displayed on his phone. In just 2.5 hours, his wealth had almost doubled. It seems like this is the first and last time I'll use this bug, Link said to himself. As he was a player who had obtained the NPC template, he could see the level of all the battle beasts. This gave the Animal Arena a clear advantage. In addition, Link had the first beast awareness skill, which allowed him to see other information about the beasts apart from their levels. Coupled with his memory from his previous life, he could basically bet on one beast without any difficulty. However, Link knew that as the public beta players entered the game, they would have a deeper understanding of Inhumans. The staff of the Colosseum realized that the Inhumans seemed to have the ability to see through the strength of the monsters, so after the open beta, the Colosseum had all installed a frequency band blocking device, so that the players could not see the level of all the beasts. Only those with abilities related to the beasts could vaguely see a thing or two. This could be considered as fixing a bug. Combined with the closed beta information he knew in his previous life, Link even had reason to suspect that both Wind and the bandit leader might have used this bug before. First of all, Wind Chasing Wolf was in the closed beta testing in Shandu, but after the open beta testing, he slipped directly to the Far Night. After the open beta started, the name of the thief Lien Gren had been spread. On the one hand, it was because he was a billionaire in reality, and on the other hand, it was because the game character was also quite rich. In the early stages of the open beta, there was no currency exchange system. Then where did the money come from? Combined with the fact that the bandit leaders were born in the Colosseum, Link had reason to be suspicious. Just as Link was deep in thought, someone walked up to him. Mr. Lin, we're from the Animal Arena Festival team of Shadu TV station. May I interview you with a few questions? Link looked and saw that it was a reporter. Behind him was a staff member carrying a camera and a light board. Link looked at the time. It was already 11:30 at night, and it was indeed the end of the show. It seemed like they wanted to use the interview to end the show. Sure, said Link, nodding. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Please proceed to the rest area for the interview. After that, Link and the staff went to the resting area to start the interview. Mr. Lin, are you satisfied with your performance in the Colosseum today? Your questions are so sharp, said Link, grinning. Aren't you afraid I'll run? Ah! The reporter was stunned for a moment before he smiled and said, Mr. Lin, you're so humorous. Just as Lin K was being interviewed, a system notification popped up. Your influence +1. Chapter 168 The Sound of Midnight, Midnight Ghost. Influence. It was an important number that ran through the entire game of Fate. Previously, Link had received 1 point of influence by changing the guild's name to his own. This time, he accepted the interview from the Animal Arena program team of the Shadow TV station and once again gained 1 point of influence. Influence referred to one's ability to get involved with NPCs or the plot in the entire game world, and one's level of fame. With high influence, not only could they get special treatment and discounts, but they could even influence the plot through interaction. Link remembered that in his previous life, the wind-chasing Ethereal had once used her high influence to stop a war between civilizations on a planet. This incident had blown up the entire game forum, and it had also made the ordinary players realize the use of influence. Even some missions from major forces required influence to be triggered. Link's previous 1 point of influence had made him quite famous in the slums of Shadow. Tonight's show on the Shadow TV station would probably be more influential. Morose leaned against the window of the VIP room and looked at Link, who was being interviewed on the big screen. Kohler stood obediently at the side, but there was a puzzled look on his face. The boss rarely stayed in the Colosseum for such a long time. Even the honored guest who had been invited to the speed competition last week to present the cross-core unicorn with the prize had left in a hurry after the prize was presented. But today, the boss actually stayed in the Colosseum until midnight, which was unprecedented. Boss, it's getting late. We should go back, Kohler said with his head lowered. Morose held his wine glass and stood there, staring at the noisy Colosseum. He refused to leave. No rush, I'm waiting for a good show. A good show? Kohler didn't understand. The live broadcast had already ended, so what good show was there? Are you referring to Yingluo, boss? Kohler followed the owner's gaze and found that he was looking at Link, who was being interviewed on the big screen. Thinking of the boss's interest in Link, Kohler was confused. Could this show be referring to Link? Morose looked at his watch, turned around, and ordered, Kohler, get Tai to investigate the Link gang. I have a feeling that the Animal Arena isn't the main stage for this show. Kohler bowed slightly and lowered his head. After receiving the order, he walked out of the VIP room and made a phone call. The sound of an elegant symphony came from the other end of the phone, and in the background, a voice leisurely sounded, Do you have any orders? The boss wants you to investigate the Link gang. How should we investigate? On the other end of the phone, Tai was fiddling with the lighter in his hand. He listened to the symphony on the stage while answering the phone. The boss said that he's waiting for a good show. The corners of Tai's mouth curled up slightly, and then his hand that was fiddling with the lighter suddenly stopped. All right, I got it. After hanging up the phone, Tai suddenly raised his hand and stood up from the audience. It was only then that they realized that Tai Yi was the only audience member in the large concert hall. The rest of the seats were empty. When the conductor on the stage saw Tai's action, he quickly made a gesture to stop the symphony. Everyone, including the conductor, stood up. Their faces were full of tension and uneasiness, as if they were waiting for God's judgment. When my phone rang, the young man playing the piano was distracted for a moment and played a syllable wrong, Yingluo. At Tai's words, the pianist's face turned pale and his body began to tremble uncontrollably. You've tarnished this song. Tai turned around and left the concert hall. Behind him, the only sound was the pianist's desperate shout, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. As for the symphony orchestra that had just played together, they all lowered their heads and kept quiet out of fear. No one dared to plead for mercy. As soon as Tai walked out of the concert hall, a few gunshots were heard from the hall. The deafening sound came through the door of the concert hall and landed on Tai's back. Tai shuddered and let out a long breath. He stood there and closed his eyes to enjoy the pleasure of the trembling. In Link's gang. The macaw looked at the clock in the resting area. It was already 11:45, the time that Link had given it. Little treasure, are you done? We should go. The macaw's voice was like a horn. The treasure-hunting mouse ran out of the office with an iron box in its mouth. The macaw saw the metal box and couldn't help but stretch out its wings and pat its head. I almost forgot about this. The treasure-hunting mouse climbed onto the macaw's body in no time, and the macaw reached out its claws to hold the iron box. Go away. The macaw took a deep breath and retracted the fat on its belly that had fallen slightly due to the good food. It stomped on the ground with both feet and flapped its wings with all its might. The dust in the yard was lifted up, but the macaw's feet had just left the ground. It was only a dozen centimeters in the air, but it looked like it was about to die. The sand condors and white-blade sea condors in the waste paper bird's nest at the side covered their eyes with their wings at the same time, ashamed to be associated with this kind of parrot. The skeleton wolf at the side wagged its tail and couldn't stand it anymore. It barked and bared its teeth as it ran towards the macaw. The macaw saw the skeleton wolf baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it charged over. It flapped its wings even more forcefully and its body rose rapidly. F***ck, skeleton wolf, you're a real F***ing dog. In a TV series with hundreds of episodes, a dog like you can't even survive one episode. You're the only page in your household register. I really want to twist your head off and stir it in the washing machine. The macaw cursed as it flew out of the Link gang, its heart still beating violently. At the thought of its embarrassing state being seen by the treasure-hunting mouse, the macaw quickly explained, usually, I can fly as soon as I start. Today, I'm just warming up. Only that slow-witted skeleton wolf thinks I can't fly. Little treasure, you definitely understand me, right? Seeing that the treasure-hunting mouse didn't answer, the macaw quickly found a slope for itself. Little treasure, quickly tell me where to go, I don't know the way. The treasure-hunting mouse lay on the macaw's head and looked around. Except for the riverside area, there were few lights in the entire slum area, as if it was covered with a layer of black cloth. Treasure-hunting mouse sniffed and searched through its memory, then pointed to the west. 10 minutes later, the treasure-hunting mouse kept squeaking. The macaw glided down and stretched out a claw just as it was about to land. Unexpectedly, it rolled its body into a ball and rubbed on the ground, leaving a trail of 3 to 4 meters long. Only then did it successfully land, looking extremely embarrassed. F***ck, I won't agree to Link's unreasonable request next time. It's not a parrot who landed on one foot. If it wasn't for this broken metal box, I wouldn't have fallen so miserably. The treasure-hunting mouse quickly jumped off the plane and was now watching the macaw's performance. The macaw got up from the ground, shook off the dirt on its body, and cleared its throat. Little treasure, help me check the green water ghost around my neck. Is it 12 o'clock yet? Chapter 169 The Late C-Rank Mission. The treasure-hunting mouse climbed back onto the macaw's body, tilted its head to look at the time on the watch, and squeaked twice. 5 more minutes, right? That's just right. The macaw suddenly straightened its body and sternly said, Treasure-seeking mouse, hear my order. The treasure-hunting mouse immediately jumped down from the macaw and stood up straight, waiting for orders. Link has 2 missions for you since it's not even 12 yet. You should go and complete the first task first. Go to the abandoned warehouse at the dock next to the White Crane Hall and find the thing buried in the corner. The treasure-hunting mouse sniffed the air and disappeared into the dark night, heading to the abandoned warehouse at the dock, which was the opposite of the White Crane Hall. Ai, don't be in such a hurry, wait for me. The macaw clutched the metal box and limped after them. By the time the macaw arrived at the warehouse, panting heavily, the treasure-hunting mouse had already dug out the 20-centimeter-long black messenger tube buried under the fallen bricks. The macaw took the letter tube and shook it. It heard a slight shake inside. Not bad. I didn't expect the first mission to be completed so quickly. It seems that under my command, Xiao Bao is unstoppable. The treasure-hunting mouse held its furry little head with its two little claws, and its whole body was about to split open. This old Jin, was he so good at adding scenes for himself? The macaw cleared its throat and said, "Little treasure, you did quite well in the first mission. I'm going to give you a second mission. Listen up." The treasure-hunting mouse suddenly straightened its body, and its eyes became sharp. The second plan is to use the rat swarm assembly ability after 12 o'clock and enter the White Crane Hall. Then, we will go to the location where the money was stored 2 days ago. We will take all the money out and bring it back to the Link Gang through a secret passage. The treasure-hunting mouse nodded, understanding its job. At this moment, the macaw took out the iron box and opened it as it said, "While you're on your mission, these self-destructing flies will assist you from the side, creating chaos in White Crane Hall, buying you time, and at the same time, attracting the attention of the fighters of White Crane Hall." Countless self-destructing flies came out of the iron box, and the buzzing sound made people feel as if the air was vibrating at a high frequency. "All right, make some preparations. We'll be able to act at 12. The macaw flapped its wings, indicating that all the tasks had been assigned. This was Link's real plan for tonight. Link had been preparing for this for some time. He had sprayed the 300,000 yuan in cash with vanilla and mud horse's saliva, and then brought treasure-hunting mouse to White Crane Hall to pay the monthly tribute in person. It was all for the sake of showing treasure-hunting mouse the door, and also to sense the specific location of the warehouse where the valuable items were stored. "Follow me and don't get lost." Then, he brought everyone to the animal arena for team building, attracting the attention of many people, just to create an alibi. "The entire Lin K gang is in the Colosseum. If you say that I'm the one who started this, I'll sue you for slander." Finally, because of the macaw's language guide and fat translator abilities, they could completely replace Link's command and convey his requests. As for the self-destructing flies and treasure-hunting mouse, they just had to do as they were told. All of these plans and foreshadowing were just for the surprise at White Crane Hall at the end of the month. Link's first move was shocking. This time, he intended to destroy White Crane Hall and leave no evidence for the people in the underworld. "Self-destructing flies, you can all enter and take your positions now. Master's request for you is to do as you please. The stronger the impact and explosion, the better. We'll go to the ambush location first. Once we sense the appearance of the rat army, we'll act immediately." The self-destructing flies were gathered together like a school of fish in the sea. After hearing this, the self-destructing flies scattered into pieces and disappeared into the dark night like a fairy scattering flowers. They flew into the White Crane Hall to find their landing point. The macaw stretched out its wings and patted the treasure-hunting mouse. Because it was dark, the macaw almost made the treasure-hunting mouse stumble. "Little treasure, it's all up to you now." With the experience of the last summoning in the park, treasure-hunting mouse ran all the way to the abandoned warehouse at the dock. Although it was late at night, it was easy to attract the attention of the thugs of White Crane Hall if they were summoned at a close distance. Hiding in the warehouse of the dock and gathering the rats, they could dig a tunnel to the underground storage room of White Crane Hall. As the time reached 12 o'clock, the 5-day cooldown of gathering of rats was over. Treasure-hunting mouse activated the skill again, and its brainwave consciousness began to spread in all directions. In the Colosseum. After the interview, Lin K looked at the time. The reporter who was packing up smiled and asked, "Mr. Lin, you've checked the time several times during the interview. Is there something urgent?" After asking, the reporter felt that it was inappropriate, so he quickly pointed to the camera that had been put away and explained, "This isn't an interview question. I'm just a little curious. I'm just calculating how much I should be paid for the interview." The interview took 23 minutes. If I bet in the Colosseum, I can play at least 2 rounds. According to the odds of 1.3, it shouldn't be a problem to make a few 100,000. Perhaps, the Shita TV station should pay me for the interview. The reporter was dumbfounded. After hearing Lin Kei's explanation, he felt that there was no problem and did not know what to do. It's just a joke, Link suddenly laughed. Don't take it seriously. The reporter heaved a sigh of relief and patted his chest, which was still considered heavy. I was really scared just now. The female reporter took out a business card from her shirt pocket. She bowed slightly and handed it to Link with both hands. Mr. Lin, this is my business card. If there's a chance in the future, I wonder if I can have an exclusive interview with you. Link looked at the name on the card, Nicole. He could still feel a slight warmth and a faint fragrance from the card. He put it in his pocket. No problem, he said. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Goodbye. As soon as the reporter left, the bell rang in the animal arena. Link's lips curled up slightly. If he was not mistaken, the macaw and treasure hunting mouse should have arrived at the scene. You have triggered the C-rank mission Turtle Dove's Nest, accept/decline. Establishing mission hint, your plan to pull the carpet out from under your feet has begun, but you must not stop here. In order to prevent White Crane Hall's revenge, this time, they must be destroyed and all of their properties must be taken for their own. White Crane Hall must be completely removed from the slums of Shandu. Mission reward, 70,000 experience points, 1 random blue equipment, 1 random blue material, influence +1. After reading the mission, Link's worried heart finally settled down. Since he had made such a huge commotion in White Crane Hall, it would be unreasonable if he did not have a mission. He had thought that a mission would pop up from the start of the plan, but he didn't expect that the mission would only arrive late when he had to act according to the scheduled time. Chapter 170 Art is Explosion. However, it was fine as long as there was a mission. If there was no mission, Lin Kei would lose a lot of experience points from this multitask. 70,000 experience was enough for Link to level up 2 skills to level 10. Not to mention, he would also be given a random blue material and equipment, as well as 1 point of influence. What Lin Kei was most in need of to synthesize high-end pets were not wild beasts, but high-quality materials. Coincidentally, this was the most difficult thing to get. Link snapped out of his daze after reading the mission. He raised his head and saw the bandit dressed as a guest who had come to the Colosseum to play. He even had a wolf dog in his hand. All right, the last part was here. The man was wearing casual clothes, giving people the feeling that he had just returned from a tropical vacation. He was wearing a pair of sunglasses, so his eyes couldn't be seen. But when Link saw the bandit leader, he was sure that he was also looking at him. Lin Kei couldn't help but smile as he started the last team-building project of the day. In the slums of Shandu. White Crane Hall. Old Crane and his adopted sons were all watching TV in the living room. Ever since the sentries reported that Link had come to the Colosseum, and that he was killing all kinds of people to make money today, the people of White Crane Hall were all livid. Especially Sun Shu, his expression was so cold that it could freeze into ice. He had originally wanted to start with the gang rules and divide the original territory of the Link gang to the other smaller gangs in the vicinity to reduce the income of the Link gang. Then, he would crush them with a high monthly salary and punish Link for his poor management without shedding a drop of blood. After all, when Jack was still alive, he had already reacted to the fact that Link's gang was in a tight spot. Therefore, Sun Shu thought of this method to make an issue out of it. However, as the hidden sentries in the Colosseum kept sending back messages, the people of White Crane Hall became numb. Whatever Link bet on, he won. In a short time, his wealth doubled. Not to mention the thugs who followed Link around. In just a few hours, Link had probably not only collected enough for next month's monthly payment, but also for the month after that, and the month after that. This wasn't the most shocking thing. What they couldn't accept the most was that the Shita TV station's Animal Arena program team actually had a live interview with Lin Kei at the end. Link appeared on camera with the elegance of a noble. His words and actions were humorous and elegant, and he attracted a huge wave of fans. Rather than an interview, it was more like an advertisement. It was Lin Kei's personal advertisement. There was a saying that the artist would choose the successor first. Now that Link was in the picture, it was probably going to attract another wave of favorability. Although this would not affect White Crane Hall's use of sect rules to deal with Link's gang, it would probably be more difficult to target Link personally in the future. Alright, now who can tell me how we're going to deal with the Link gang? Old Crane asked, his face dark. Sun Chu's face turned ashen. Link's gambling luck was extremely good and he won every bet. He completely treated the Colosseum as a bank for free withdrawal. It seemed impossible to impose economic sanctions on Link and strangle him in one go. Sun Chu opened his fan and started to pace back and forth with a frown. Every time Sun Chu opened his fan and walked back and forth, it meant that he had encountered a difficult situation. At that moment, Old Crane noticed the lid of the porcelain cup clanking against the cup. The surface of the cup rippled as if the earth was shaking. Many of the tycoons present had also noticed something strange. Just as he was about to speak, there was an explosion outside. Immediately after, there was a series of more than 10 consecutive explosions. The light of the fire shone through the hollow wooden door and into the meeting room. Not good, not good, the White Crane Hall is under attack. The thug at the door ran in like a madman and fell onto the smooth marble floor. What's going on? 11 rushed forward and grabbed the thug's collar. The thug's face was full of panic, and there was a lot of blood on his face. His eyes were full of fear. It's a ghost. We didn't see any enemies. The air exploded out of thin air, and the hands and feet of a good person suddenly exploded. Bastard, where did the ghost of White Crane Hall come from? I'll go and take a look. 11 pulled out a gun from behind his waist and ran out with large strides. There were also other tycoons who took out their guns and went out to check. The self-destructing fly could not control the explosion itself. Only when its body was subjected to high temperature and crushed would it release the power of the concentrated liquid explosive in its body. Therefore, the self-destructing flies also went straight to the fighters of White Crane Hall, hoping to use them to detonate the bomb. There were also some smart self-destructing flies that went to places where the lights were brightly lit and lay on top of high-power light bulbs, using the heat generated by the light bulbs to light up themselves before exploding. Other self-destructing flies took advantage of the explosion and gathered together, causing a series of explosions. There were also sneaky self-destructing flies that specifically targeted the hatchet men's faces, forcefully stopping on their heads and faces. When a fly landed on a normal person's head, their first reaction would be to reach out and drive it away. However, these self-destructing flies were determined and refused to let go. They were just waiting for the slap to land, and then a deafening explosion would follow. Link had made a detailed plan for this. He had prepared thousands of self-destructing flies. 11 and the other tycoons, who had gone out to investigate, came back in a hurry. Blood gushed out of 11's shoulder. Because he swatted the flies on his body, his shoulder was blown open and his bones could be seen clearly. The rest of the tycoons also had some wounds from the explosion. A fly, it's a fly. A bunch of flies suddenly appeared. As long as we kill them, there will be an explosion. A fly that could explode? Everyone, including Old Crane, found the statement absurd. However, just as 11 opened the door and rushed back, a self-destructing fly came to the meeting hall, its buzzing sound extremely annoying. Old Crane narrowed his eyes, and a sharp glint suddenly appeared in his eyes. He thrust out a palm. The palm force pierced through a few meters of air and hit the self-destructing fly. Boom! A dazzling fireball emerged, forcing the Grand Guardians in the hall to retreat a little. They looked at the place where the fire had disappeared with dumbfounded expressions. Even Old Crane was shocked. He hadn't expected a fly to be so powerful. Sun Chu frowned and gritted his teeth. It must be a self-destructing miniature insect robot created by a mechanic. We can send out high-frequency signals to disrupt the robot's program and external signals. At this moment, the White Crane Hall was in a mess. Outside the red wall, one could see the White Crane Hall inside. From time to time, the flames caused by the explosions would dye the night sky red, and then disappear with the explosions. One after another. The macaw was sitting on an abandoned tire not far away, swinging its 2 little feet and said in a deep voice, "Ah, it's been a long time since I've seen fireworks. I really miss it." Then, the macaw looked at the ground that was gradually rising and moving. It ran across the road from the abandoned warehouse and went straight to the White Crane Hall. That was just the appetizer. The real show has just begun. After saying that, the macaw grabbed the letter tube with its claws and flapped its wings with great effort to fly back to the Link clan. Next, he didn't need to do anything. He could return to the Link clan and wait for news of the treasure-hunting mouse's triumphant return.